Okay, today we're going to look at how muscles work, how we get stronger or weaker. So, you might want to know how to get stronger. Well, maybe we should start by looking at how muscles work. Skeletal muscle can be envisaged as a rope, made up of smaller strands and fibres. First, we have our muscle belly, which is like our big rope. It's made up of fascicles, which are just bundles of muscle fibres. The muscle fibres are just bunches of muscle cells, each with its own nucleus. Inside that, we have tiny strands of myofibrils surrounded by sarcoplasm. We're going to look at this little bit. So our muscle fibre has myofibrils. Myofibrils have sections called sarcomeres. Inside those sarcomeres, there's chains of protein, a thick one called myosin with little feet, and a thin one called actin, which looks like a chain of beads. So when my brain tells my body I've got to move, it sends a chemical message called acetylcholine through my nerves to my muscles. This sparks an electrochemical reaction which makes the myosin grab the actin and pull. This makes all the sarcomeres in a muscle shorten. The whole muscle is contracted, making us move. But why do I need to know all this? To know how to get stronger or weaker? Well, basically muscles get stronger if there are more contractile proteins and weaker if the proteins start to break down. Oh, sorry, now you're really confused. Let's start with how we get stronger. Well, there are actually two processes that can make us stronger: neural adaptations and myofibrillar hypertrophy. Let's look at neural adaptations first. First is recruitment, shown to be the body's first response to weight training. This is where, initially, only a certain number of muscle fibres are activated. If more strength is required, then more muscle fibres are recruited. There's also improvements in synchronisation of messages, meaning more fibres fire at once. Pow! Making us stronger. Muscle growth and increase in strength is actually a process called hypertrophy. There are actually two types of hypertrophy: sarcoplasmic, which generally makes muscles bigger, and myofibrillar, making us stronger. We're just going to look at myofibrillar today. Weight training, such as carried out by weightlifters, activates the myofibrillar hypertrophy process. With enough sustained weight training, you too can become like these guys. But remember our myofibrils with their proteins, actin and myosin? Well, with myofibrillar hypertrophy, satellite cells that are at rest normally activate when the myofibre is damaged by weight training. They then merge with the myofibre, making more muscle cells and more protein filaments. This repairs our muscle fibres and makes us stronger. So why then are some people weak? And how do muscles become weaker? Well, unfortunately, the amount of muscle you have to start with is genetically predetermined. This means that some people have less muscle tissue as grown adults than others. But muscle weakness and a loss of muscle mass is a process called atrophy. Atrophy can be caused by disuse through injury or low gravity or lack of activity. It can also be caused by disease such as nerve malfunction, muscle wasting and malnutrition. Whatever the cause, muscle atrophy usually comes down to an imbalance in the natural process of programmed cell death, protein degradation and breakdown of proteins, versus protein synthesis and activation of new muscle cells. So with a healthy diet, regular exercise and no disease, our muscle mass is naturally maintained through a bodily process called homeostasis. When that balance is out, degradation wins and our muscles become atrophied. So to summarise, we've looked at how muscles work and how muscles become stronger or weaker. We've looked at the process of strengthening muscles through hypertrophy, which increases our proteins, cross-sectional area and cells. We've also looked at atrophy and weakness through loss of proteins and loss of muscle cells. But beware, all you gym junkies. If you go too far, you'll look like this. Produced, edited and narrated by Rachel Zeski. Thanks for watching.
Created using Powtoon.